What's up, Joseph?
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, first I want to say I was a big fan of yours. I was like messaging your friends who were running your Instagram DMs and stuff all season, so I was able to like kind of get some information through them too. But
Nice.
it's nice meeting you. My name's Pharaoh from the Reality Kingdom, and I wanted to ask you about your strategy throughout the game. We kind of saw you latch on to Tucker a little bit towards the beginning, and then after that, you were kind of trying to go towards Quinn and Leah, but I kind of wanted to ask what was your strategy with who you were kind of aligning with?
Yeah, so at the beginning of the game, I felt like I was really close with Chelsea and Cedric. Because we were in that rock room together. I felt like Chelsea was somebody I was like trying to talk strategy with a lot, and I feel like we were quite a bit. And then like day 5 through 8, I'm not sure where it was exactly, but Tucker came up to me in the bathroom about this final two. That he wanted to do with me because we were both film nerds and
Mm-hmm.
we could kind of have that connection. I reminded him of a friend of his from back home, and during that he swore on his family that he would not backstab me. And I kind of was like, this dude's not lying. Like, he's not going to go back on that. And I told him that same week, I was like, dude, Matt's telling everybody that you got a final two with him. So that made him trust me more. I told him I was a super fan. That way he would maybe listen to me more. That didn't work. He still didn't listen to me a lot of times. He's just a hurricane of a human. And so like when he was doing the stuff where he wanted to go against Cedric and the collective, I was like, dude, what are you doing? I told you about the collective, and now you're going after the people in it like way too early. Like, I wanted you to do this at final 11, final 10. You're doing this at 13, bro. Like, we got more time to go. Like, he was too hot too quick. He burned too bright too quick.
Mm-hmm.
And I would tell him sometimes, I'd be like, bro, you're not going to be able to win all these competitions. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to lose at some point. You know what I mean? And he was not subscribing to that. He was like, "No, I'm gonna win all of them." And I was like, "Oh God." So like there was a time where I would have been willing to let him go that week, where he did the Cedric stuff, and then he was on the block and he won the AI arena against Quinn when he had the Mohawk. That week he would have gone home had he not won, and there was really nothing I could do about it. My
Mm-hmm.
whole alliance wanted him out. You know what I mean? I couldn't put my foot down really because it's like he's going after Cedric and Quinn like
Yeah.
hard, and they're both just like, we need to get rid of this guy. But then he kept winning, and I was like, you know, he's kind of doing what I said by getting to final 10, final 11,
Mm-hmm.
but not by chilling out. He's doing it by just winning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if he keeps doing that, then we can make this work. You know what I mean? And then I was like, well, and we have the arena, so if he loses the veto, he can win that, and like I can keep him around. You know what I mean? So that was like when I was really like, this could work. You know what I mean? And I think that he just was too big of a target.
Yeah.
So
That's
sorry,
fair. So,
I ramble. Yeah,
you're fine. It's great.
hmm,
So, kind of considering that when Tucker went home, like the game kind of reset in a way, and you
yeah,
were repositioned. And we heard you on the feeds talk a lot about how you felt like your position was good even before then, and then even after then, you kind of mentioned how you felt like your position was good for a time until you got put on the block, of course.
yeah.
So, I want to ask, where do you think why do you think you felt your position was good, and where do you think you went wrong now that you kind of have a little hindsight?
I think that my position, I I feel like at times I thought it was good and I was trying to be half glass half full with things and
Mm-hmm.
like be optimistic. And then other times I would think like I'm fucked. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because during that HOH, the egg one,
Mm-hmm.
I knew going into it, I was like, there's like 4 or 5 people who can't win this.
Yeah.
Like if they win this, I'm gonna be on the block. Like I knew Chelsea after the Cedric thing was just always after me. Like I was never gonna be able to like get her back after that. And
Mm-hmm.
there were a couple people like that who I was like, maybe they're not targeting me, but that was the first week where I was truly like, there's a lot of people who could put me up. Because the weeks before, the way I thought about the game was always just like, who would put me up? You know what I mean? And every week before that is like only 1 or 2 people. And I like those odds. You know what I mean? This was the first week where I was just like, ugh. And then I had a moment in the bathroom one time where I was like really thinking about it. I was like, I'm really nobody's number one anymore.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm kind of interchangeable for a lot of people. Like Cam, for instance, me and him were cool. He voted for me to stay, but I wasn't like his number three, even probably. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? So I feel like throughout the game, I wanted to appear alone and actually have people. But then as the game progressed, I actually just was alone.
Yeah.
And I really didn't have any pieces to move anymore, especially once Tucker left.
Yeah. That's fair. So, my next question is based off your super fandomness. So we know
Right.
you're a super fan. We heard you in the game mention a lot of past players, compared yourself to Dr. Will sometimes. I even heard that you've played orgs before or something like that on the
I
feed.
played in Org, yeah, one
A
time a long time.
org, and
Yeah,
you
yeah.
hated it. You didn't like it?
It was horrible. Yeah, waste of time.
Okay, so but you are a really big fan of the show. So
Yeah,
I wanted to ask you, what do you feel like in during the game? Do you feel like you being a super fan helped, or do you feel like there were things in the game that you didn't expect and you kind of had a oversight of how much you knew about the game when you were playing?
yeah. I think that like as much as you know, it doesn't really matter sometimes when you're in there. You know
Okay.
what I mean? Like you can know everything, but like you don't know the people, you don't know the situations. I feel like sometimes I overthought like the challenges specifically,
Hmm.
where like I'm like the AI arena. Like I had seen that challenge on Survivor, I'd seen it on the challenge before, and I was like, oh, you got to keep track of your rope the whole time
Hmm.
and know like that way your rope doesn't get tangled and everything like that. And that hurt me because I'm like, you should just be moving your body through this thing like crazy, you know what I mean, and not worry about that. There was another stacking challenge where I thought like the same thing where when Kenny was doing, I was like, it can't be that easy.
Hmm.
Like you're usually here for hours doing this. I know that because I listened to that on podcasts and like, you know, so there was a couple times. And also too, I felt like everybody was thinking like me with certain things and they weren't. And I kind of looked at people to make like at least what I thought was the logical decision for them in certain situations,
Hmm.
and they wouldn't do it. And that was like frustrating.
Fair. Okay, so when you got evicted, you
Right.
mentioned to Julie, you're like, well, usually I would be in the jury this season. So I want to ask you, if you were in the jury, who do you feel like were the top three players that would have gotten your vote and why?
Uh, Chelsea, Rubina, and T-Core. I think that Chelsea has just played a marvelous game from the get-go. I knew it from day three, four, five that she was a very sharp cookie and somebody to watch out for,
Hmm.
which is why in my heart of hearts I always wanted to get rid of her because I always knew it was she was going to be an obstacle in my way because everybody respected her. She's athletic, she's smart, but people underestimate how smart she is. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? Because she's kind of loud and like jokey and funny sometimes, but she's very intelligent and just kind of knew how to move through the game socially better than I did. And then Rubina, I feel like people maybe underestimate her, and I feel like people think that like I don't like Rubina, by the way, because I called her annoying one time on the live feeds, and I just got frustrated. Like, Rubina's awesome, like you know what I mean. And but no, I would like totally vote for her because she was a player from the beginning. She came up to me in the backyard and we were talking about getting rid of Matt. And I was shocked because I thought she was with him because she did a really good job of like pretending to be good with some people, but she's actually against them and
Hmm.
everything like that. So she was a good player. And T-Core, I think, was also very astute in the way she navigated the game. And a lot of times was playing a lot harder than I gave her credit for. You know what I mean? I underestimated her in chemo. It wasn't until they came up to me with the plan to do the Cedric vote the day before when they were doing their tea time, where I came into the room and I'm just like, oh, these two are like, they're
Hmm.
like trying to play. Like, you know what I mean? Like before that, I thought because she didn't know the show that well, she was a recruit and everything like that. I was just like, I don't know what her deal is. You know what I mean? And then
Hmm.
that's when I was like, oh, these two are players. So T Core is definitely up there for me as well.
All right. Thank you so much for speaking to me. It was great watching you on the show, talking to you now. And I guess I'll see you around maybe.
Appreciate it, buddy. Take it easy.